Okay, folks, this time we'll be solving, these are a little bit harder than yesterday because you have an x, a variable you're solving for, you have that inside the radical, but you have another variable outside. Whenever I have one in, one out, it's going to turn into a quadratic equation where there's going to be two answers most of the time, 99% of the time. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is look at my square root. Do I really have anything outside this square root? No, I don't, so we're not going to mess with q. Q is really only useful if you have things out, like a multiplier on the square root or something being added or subtracted. You don't, so right away we're just going to take both sides to the power of 2 because that'll give me the cancellation. Now, here's what happens. The square root and the second power cancel here, okay? And I get 7x plus 15. But how do you find what x plus 2 to the second power is? X plus 1 to the second, sorry. Well, obviously, you take care of your exponent, and then you need to duplicate that, and then you need to FOIL it out. You need to take x times x. You need to take x times 1. You need to take 1 times x, and you need to take 1 times 1. You're going to find yourself having to do that a lot on this assignment. So I get x squared, I get 1x, I get 1x, and I get 1. So that's going to end up being 2x. So now over here I've got x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now, since I have an x squared and I've also got regular x, we need to actually use factoring in order to solve this. So I need to clear the side of the equation that does not have x squared. Wherever x squared's at, I want to keep that stuff. It's the side that doesn't have x squared that I want to get rid of. So minus 7x, minus 15, minus 15. Now, as you can see, what we have, we got 1x squared. I've got negative 5x. I've got negative 14 equals 0. Now, I know there's 3 terms, so I can do my GCF. And then my T-chart. The T-chart should work on all these. There is no GCF. 1 times negative 14 is negative 14, so difference of 5, that's going to be 2 times 7, and a equals 1, so I just need 2 parentheses. So x, 2 and 7. So I've got minus 5, so minus 7 for sure, and difference would mean they're the opposite. Okay, so x plus 2 could equal 0, or x minus 7 could equal 0. So I minus 2, so I get negative 2 for my first answer, plus 7, then I get 7 for my next one. Okay, next problem. There's 2 answers here because we have an x inside and an x outside. Again, nothing outside the square root. There's no multiplier. There's nothing being added, so we go right to our second power. Okay, so over here is where we get the canceling to happen. So that's just 9 times x now. But over here I need to take x minus 10 second. And then what we need to do is lose that and duplicate it. So we're going to have to do some foiling here. So 1x times 1x. 1x times negative 10. Negative 10 times 1x. And then negative 10 times negative 10. So that gives me 1x squared, negative 10x, negative 10x, and positive 100. Okay, so I add these, and that ends up being negative 20x. So I have 1x squared minus 20x plus 100. Okay, so again, I have to use factoring because I ended up with an x to the second and an x, so we need to have one side clear. So it gives me 1x squared minus 29x plus 100 equals 0. Okay, so at GCF, doesn't appear I have one. Now I go to my chart. So 1 times 100 is positive 100. So I'm looking for a sum that would equal 29. That would be 4 times 25. Okay, and a is a 1 here, so I just need 2. Because 1x squared can only be x times x, and that sets me up to write 100 as 4 times 25, knowing that that will add up to negative 29, as long as I make 25 minus and 4 is minus. Okay, so x minus 4 could equal 0, or x minus 25 can equal 0. So I plus 4, plus 4. So 4 is my first answer. And 25 is my second. So 4 and 25. Okay, next problem again. We got an x in and x out. So there's 2 answers. That's kind of the law that we're going to follow. Again, nothing outside the square root. So we square, and then we just square that. Okay, so here I get the cancellation. The second power and the square root just cancel, and that leaves me with the expression 16 times x plus 225. Now over here, x squared, you just get rid of the 2 and make another x. Well, that's x squared. Okay, I don't even need to FOIL that. Okay, now, when I'm getting this equal to 0, I have this and I have this, so we're going to have to use factoring. But since I got that, I need to clear one side. Now, it might seem like it's easiest to clear that side, but it's not. You want to leave your x squared where it's at. You want this other junk to come over here. So I need to just put that after, because it didn't have that. And then minus 225, and that goes after. Okay, so I now have 1x squared minus 16x minus 225 equals 0. Okay, so 3 terms, GCF, doesn't appear that I have it. And then I'm going to look for my T table. Kind of a crappy T table here. 1 times negative 225 is negative 225, difference of 16. Now, if I were doing it, I'd use quadratic formula, but this actually will work, because if you divide 225 by 9, you get 25. And 25 minus 9 is 16. So actually the T will work if you have patience, but if you don't, you can just use your quadratic formula. You get the same answers. Okay, so A equals 1. So I just need 2xx, 9, 25. So I had minus 16, so we have to have a bigger minus, and difference would mean they're opposite. So x plus 9 equals 0. X minus 25 equals 0. So I get negative 9 for my first answer. And I get positive 25 for my second. Okay, next, x in, x out. You know what that means? 2 answers. So again, we just get rid of that, and then we got to do the other side as well. So we get the canceling to happen here, so 21x plus 1. So I got to figure out what x plus 5 to the second power is. So we lose the second power, and then we just take 2 times x plus 5. And then I do a FOIL. X times x, x times 5, 5 times x, and 5 times 5. So it gives me x squared, 5x, 5x, and 25. So it's going to be 10x. So x squared plus 10x plus 25. Okay, now the x squared's here, so I want to get rid of this side. I don't want to be moving x squareds around if I can help it, okay? Because I want those to stay positive, and if they're already positive, I don't want to mess up a good thing. Okay, so I'm going to have 1x squared minus 11x. 25 minus 1 is 24, plus 24 equals 0, and now I'm ready to roll. GCF, I don't have one in the T chart. So 1 times 24 is 24. That's a sum of 11, and that's 3 times 8. Okay, so what does A equal? A equals 1. So far, I've had it always equaling 1. Okay, so I have minus 11, so you got minus 8 for sure, and sum would mean they're both minus. Okay, so x minus 3 equals 0. X minus 8 equals 0. Solve away. So I get 3. And I get 8. 3 and 8 are the two answers. Okay, next up. I got x in and x out. They're like, well, you got x squared in. Does that matter? No, actually it doesn't. It's actually going to be a good thing. So I square that and I square that. That out, and then I have the expression x to the power of 2 plus 4. Then over here I need to do some foiling. By the way, if you're getting good at that FOIL in your head, I encourage you to use it, but I'm not going to because not everybody's great at that. It's kind of a just natural thing. So x squared, 5x, 5x, and 25. So that's 10x. So I've got x to the second plus 10x plus 25. Now, here's the deal. You got x squared. You got 1x squared on each side. So what you can do is get rid of them because they're the same thing on each side. They cancel, and now you only got one answer. Okay, so well, I thought there was 2, but there ended up being just 1. So I box that up. I get the x by itself. It's going to be negative 21 equals 10 times x, and then guess what? We can just divide. It's going to be negative 2.1. So that does happen. So when that happens, it just ends up being a linear equation where you get just solve for the 1x. Okay, this one here. When I've got 2 x's, but they're both in, you know how if I have 1 in, 1 out, there's 2. But if they're both in, there's only going to be one answer. Okay, so because what happens is, what side cancels? Well, both sides do. So now I end up with 2x plus 5 equals 1x plus 7. So now let's get the x's so they're on the same side. And the numbers without x's, let's get them so they're both over here. So minus 5, minus 5. So now I end up with 1x equals 2. There's your answer. That's actually a good thing when you have them on each side. Okay, I got one that's in a square root and one that's not. So at the beginning, I think there's 2 answers. So we get the canceling there. I have 10x plus 9. And then what I have over here, I need to find what x plus 3 squared is. So it's going to be x plus 3 times itself. X times x, x times 3, 3 times x, and 3 times 3. So it's x squared, 3x, 3x, and 9. So it's going to be 6x. X squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, so here's my x squared. Let's have this junk come over here. Again, you don't want to move the x squareds. Okay, so I have 1x squared. I have negative 4x. And then that's 0, so equals 0. Now it's just 2 terms, so I'd look for a GCF and then see if I have a difference of perfect squares. Okay, GCF, well, we have a GCF of x for sure because we have x on both of them, so I need to get the x out. Now I divide by x. That's 1x minus 4. Is that a DOPS? No, it's not, because the x would have to be to the second power for it to be a DOPS, so no. So what I do is either this x could equal 0, or my 1x minus 4 could equal 0. So 0. So that problem shook out a little bit differently because these 9s went away, leaving me with just 2 terms. Well, GCF dops. Okay, then my last one here. Again, there's only one answer. So, because you got an x in and an x out, so you get the cancellation on both sides. So you get 1x plus 3, 4x minus 8. Okay, so again, I'll get the x's on this side. Doesn't matter what side you get the x's, but then we got to get the non-x's to the other side. So plus 8, plus 8. So I have 11, and over here I have 3 times x. So I divide by 3. And that's 3.6 repeating, so I'm just going to put 11 over 3. You could also put 3 2/3 too.